Well, that's important. I mean, I don't know any school that doesn't like a little bit of funding, right?
Yeah, right.
So, dang, that's awesome. Um,
Yeah. Okay, so I've got your website coming up.
oh, cool. Yeah. So sometimes it takes like a little bit to load. It should have when it's finally loaded, it should say Cutco or Cutco at the top. Should have 4 individual images. And you can just like let me know when you see that. There's like a blinking arrow, and we'll kind of just use that arrow to navigate through the slides. It's pretty self-explanatory, but if you do have any questions, like please let me know, okay? So that way I can make sure we're on the same page, you know?
Okay. So nothing. I don't have any pictures coming up. Do I push to get started?
So
Tab
don't
at the top.
don't click get started. That'll like try to create like an account for you for Prezi. We're just gonna use the presentation. It might, like I said, it might load for a minute. So you should have like a big turning circle trying to load probably.
I don't have one at all. But
Hmm.
my computer has needs some updates. So there might be a glitch somehow, but I don't see anything coming up. But I don't have the color wheel that's turning either.
Yeah, you
It
may.
says Cutco, the World Science Coloring is all I have on my.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then below that are some comments.
Yeah,
But I don't
so
have any pictures.
it should have a big square with like a picture. It should say Cutco on it. I mean, I'm sure you see you like learn about Prezi. It should say like William Houghton under the one thing. Hold on, let me just double check really quickly so that I sent you the right link just so we can be if we need to, we may need to just have you click on the link one more time and see if it'll load that way, okay?
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure I sent you the right link. Yeah, this is usually the hardest part of my whole presentation is making sure that this thing Prezi. You know, technology, it's so helpful, but also so frustrating sometimes, you know?
Yeah, that's so true.
I'm sure you never have any of those kind of problems working as a secretary, all
Oh, I
right?
wish I didn't.
Yeah, no, I figured. Yeah, maybe just try re-clicking on it from your email and it might load it up again. Did you try that?
I did, and it showed loading presentation with the wheels, and now it totally disappeared.
Oh no. What kind of computer do you have?
I have a Mac.
A Mac? Okay. Yeah, usually those are pretty good. Let me just check something really quickly, Diana.
Which, you know what, I should have mentioned this. I'm having a hard time with a lot of websites not bringing up a lot of the pictures.
Oh, okay.
And so I've just got to go. I'm sure I just need to go and have some update on my computer. But I just did that 3 times now.
It's where
Not bringing anything up.
you update one thing and then you got another 4 things to update the next day, right?
Yeah, I know.
What kind of
So,
phone?
you know, sorry, I can't get it to come up.
What kind of phone do you have, Diane?
I have an Apple.
You have an iPhone. The other option I could think of is there is a Prezi app as well. It's super quick to download. If you wanted to go to your app store and just download that, that's usually my fallback because usually this does work, but sometimes it doesn't. And so we could try that.
Just go to the App Store. Okay.
Yeah, and just look for Prezi. It's Prezi.
Okay.
It should have like a blue logo.
Prezi app. Prezi app.
It should say Prezi Viewer is what it's called.
Okay.
Do you find it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then once you download that, if you go ahead and click the link that I sent you in the email via your email on your phone, it should open it through the app when it's downloaded. Does that make sense?
Sorry, 1 second. Just open it up on my phone.
It opened it up on your phone?
Okay, so it wants me to log in.
Oh, does it? You shouldn't have to. That's so weird. I'm sorry, Dan. It's usually just not that frustrating. Like I said, are you looking at the email on your phone?
Sorry, what's that?
Are you looking at the email specifically on your phone email?
No, I haven't. You click it, I upload it. Okay, I've got it up on my phone now.
Oh, cool. So you can see the presentation there.
So let's see.
And if your computer does end up working at any point, then we could just swap back over to that because it's usually easier to view it on the computer, especially for
Okay,
the.
I got it on my phone.
Oh, cool. So what do you see then?
Just a Cutco that has a picture of the building and the flag.
Yes, and you should have like four individual images there.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. That's exactly where we need to be, Diane. Typically, it's pretty easy to just get through like the slides. Like I said, you just kind of click the arrow to navigate, and I'll tell you where to click and whatnot and what to look at. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it's super easy that way. And so, I am kind of a talker though, so if you do get off track with me, please just be like, Nick, you need to slow down. Like, hold on a second
Okay.
and let me know. As far as your Cutco goes though, you have Cutco, you said, right?
Right.
Okay, and I want to make sure that we can help you take care of that because you said you've had it for over 20 years now and you still haven't sent it back to get sharpened, correct?
Right.
Oh my goodness, it's due. Like it probably due like 10 years ago.
I
So
believe it. They do.
so let's get that taken care of first. Are you able to pull up a web page on your computer?
You should be able to, yeah.
If you just go to cutco.com, I'll give you the basic steps right here just so we can take care of that and I don't forget.
Okay.
At the Cutco.com, it should bring you to just their basic website. And then at the top of the page, there should be a sharpening banner. Do you see that?
Yeah.
If you click on that, it's super easy. You basically follow those steps 1, 2, 3. You can request a service request right there. And you basically just fill out some information, put the pieces that you have down, and then like comments of whether it needs to be sharpened or if there's anything broken that they'll need to fix. Input like a credit card number for the return shipping, and then you just print off a label and slap it on a box and send it in. Now, I recommend flat rate boxes because they're usually pretty cheap. But whatever method of shipping you want to pay for, it's up to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can fill that out later. I just want to make sure you knew how to get the information, so that way, like throughout the presentation, I didn't forget. What pieces of Cutco do you have, if you don't mind me asking?
I have a paring knife, like a big chopping knife, a bread knife, a carving knife, and the scissors.
A carving? How is your carving knife about the same length as your chef knife, probably?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. And you said you have the shears?
Yes, I do.
Which one's your favorite?
The paring knife is my favorite.
Really?
And I love the scissors.
The shears like
What's that?
I said the shears are like most people's. It's a really big customer favorite for sure. I mean, you're hard pressed to find something those things can't cut through. Am I right?
Yep, I love them.
What do you love about the paring knife?
Oh, I can cut up all kinds of vegetables with it in a hurry.
Oh yeah.
And I don't always have to get the cutting board out for that, so it's just something from in a hurry.
Oh yeah, yeah. And remind me, where did you get your Cutco from again?
My husband's friend told him through college.
Oh, cool. So he's kind of doing the same thing I'm doing right now.
Uh-huh.
And I think when I was talking to Shelly, you said that your husband was like her old bishop, right? Or was he a stake
Right.
president or something like that?
And he's what, sorry?
Or was she saying he was like her stake president or something like that?
He's our new state president.
That's do you get to see him often, or is he keep pretty busy doing that?
Yeah, he's busy, but I think he's pretty, it's not too bad.
Okay, that's good. I know, like I have a neighbor who became stake president, and that guy, he's always running around. I don't know how he has time for anything in his life, and so that's gotta be good though. Well, awesome, Diane. Well, then, as far as my presentation, typically what I like to do before I jump right into it is kind of just explain a little bit about myself and introduce myself. That way you can kind of know why the heck you're talking to the knife guy today. And so,
Okay.
um, like I said, Diane, my name is Nick. I was born here in St. George, Utah. I've lived here most of my life. I did do a number of years in Las Vegas to finish up high school, but I do call St. George home. Have you ever been here before?
Yeah, lots of times.
Really? It's nice weather, right?
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a change. You're in Logan, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Better than last year.
It's a little bit cold there, I'm sure. And so, yeah,
Yeah, it's getting there.
oh my goodness, you're gonna have snow here in the next couple weeks, probably, right?
Yeah, we've already had really cold weather, so it's just a matter of time.
Oh my goodness. So I flew to New York just like a week ago, and I had to buy a jacket because I just didn't need one here in St. George. And so
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's pretty great. Um, but as far as that goes, I've lived here most of my life. I'm going to school at Dixie. Like I said, I moved to Vegas and then left for a short period of time. I did serve a mission in New York. That's actually where I flew to just this weekend, last weekend, which is
Oh,
pretty,
cool.
yeah, it was pretty awesome to go back. I haven't been in like 3 years now, so I hit the perfect time of year. I'll tell you that. It's just fall time there, and so that way I don't have to deal with the snow. And so
Yeah, good for you.
yeah, it was a good time. I really enjoyed it. But I came back to Vegas and decided I didn't like the city, so moved back to good old St. George to go to school at Dixie. And for the longest time, people would always ask me, Nick, what are you going to school for? And I'd always tell them the same thing. I'm taking suggestions. And so,
That's a good idea.
what's that?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, no, I've actually started narrowing it down a little bit. I'm currently pursuing a business admin degree right now, and so that was just as of this semester. So I'm pretty excited to be able to actually say that like I'm pursuing something like specific now. So that's always a good step in the right direction. But as
Yeah.
as I'm sure you know, school is pretty expensive. And so
Yeah.
I did need a job to help me pay for school, and that's why I started working with Cutco. Do you have any kids that have gone to college?
Yeah.
Okay, how many?
Well, my son,
Oh, okay.
yeah, in school right now.
Oh, what school does he go to? They're in Logan or?
Yeah. Utah State.
Okay, yeah, I've got some friends up there. They really enjoy it. But yeah, and so like I said, school's expensive, and Cutco's been a great job for me as a college student. It provides me the flexibility to work around my finals, midterms, homework schedules, and whatnot. And so, like I just set up the appointment with you, it's I pretty much decide when I can work, and that's kind of how I dictate my schedule. So that's super awesome. Um, but as far as that goes, I have some really big goals with this company. And do you mind if I share those with you really quick, Diane?
Sure, that's fine.
So if you go ahead and click to the next slide, there's a page that says thank you for helping me reach my goals. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so then this presentation, there's a lot of parts to it, but this page right here is the most important part, and it's those first two words right there at the beginning, and it's thank you. Like seriously, Diane, I know there's a lot of things you could be doing with your day than talking to the knife guy, and so I do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to see me, because I am working towards these goals, and I couldn't do it without nice people like you. And so again, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Um,
You're welcome.
Thank you. As far as the goals go, though, you can kind of see a couple of those there: President's Club, the All-American Scholarship, and the All-American Scholarship's one that I'm really currently working hard towards. So Cutco, they work with thousands of students, and every year they give out 100 scholarships. So there's a lot of competition for those scholarships. I did win one over the summertime, but I'm trying to win one again this semester. And based on last year's results, um, they give out about 25 of them during the per semester and 50 in the summer. And so in order to qualify for that, I have to sell about $20,000 worth of Cutco by the end of the semester. And so that's like a huge goal, like especially around what's that?
That is a huge goal.
Yeah. It's kind of a stretch, especially when I'm taking like 15 credits as a student. I'm trying to work around like all the things I got going on. And so it is a huge goal, and I am kind of nervous that I may be stretching myself a little bit. However, I am 100% committed to doing this and to reaching this goal and working harder than I ever have before in order to achieve it. And so as far as that goes, I am super I'm super excited. Like I said, nervous. But the biggest thing is please don't feel like you have to buy anything today, Diane. Just help me out with my goal, okay? If we're being honest,
Okay.
Cutco is way too expensive to buy to be nice. And so, um,
Okay.
as far as that goes, most people I see end up finding something that they like. I'd honestly say like 80% of the people that I see end up finding something, especially people like you that have Cutco. So if you do see anything that you do like, I'd love to help you get a good deal. But I do want to say though, there is no pressure, okay? There's no pressure to buy anything. As
Right.
far as my presentation goes, this is the most important part, okay? In fact, my goal isn't actually to sell you anything. Again, if you do decide to find a piece of or a set of Cutco that you like, I'd love to help you get a good deal. But my biggest expectation for this presentation, it's going to sound a little funny, but it's just to make sure you like me, okay? And so the reason is, Diane, I can only show Cutco to people I have been personally recommended to. So just like Shelly recommended me to you, that's really my favorite part about my job is because all of my appointments are based on personal referrals. I get to meet a ton of really awesome people like yourself, and it just makes my job a whole lot of fun, okay? And so we don't have to worry about that right now, though. More than anything, I just want to make sure you enjoy our time together, so that way you feel good about referring me to some of your friends, family, or neighbors, just like Shelly referred me to you. But again, we don't have to worry about that now. We can come to that at the end because we got to make sure you like me by the end of this, okay? And so,
Okay.
um, if you go ahead and click to the next slide there, you should see a page that says, "What is Cutco?" Do you see that?
I want to go.
Is it not cooperating again?
No, my phone's not. My phone's usually really reliable.
You're having all sorts of technical difficulties today, aren't you?
Oh my goodness. It's not turning its lights.
Hmm.
I don't know what to do with it. My phone's new.
What iPhone do you have?
The 10.
Okay, so it is pretty new. You shouldn't have any problems.
Sorry, I can't get it.
Oh, don't apologize to me, Diane. It's totally fine. I'm sorry that you have to deal with the technical issues. Did you try looking at your computer again to see if it ever loaded on there?
Don't know.
Is it?
Still won't load on my computer.
Huh, that's so weird. I've never really had someone that hadn't had it work on all their devices. That's unfortunate. Um, let me see what I can do here. So we do have. Let me just look something up really quickly. Oh, sorry, one just fell. Okay, so let's look here. Like again, I'm sorry, Diane. This just doesn't usually happen. Um,
All right.
I'm gonna see if we can find an alternate option. Hmm.
I can't go forward or back.
Say that again.
I can't get it to go forward or back.
You said you can either go forward or back.
Yeah, it won't go either way.
Did you try reloading the website?
Yeah, I did.
Ooh. Um.
Darn it.
Well, I'm gonna just send a quick text to see if I can find an alternate thing. I know there's a the possibility to do it on a Google Docs. The other thing I could suggest is, let me take a look here. Awesome. Let's see. So Diane, I'm gonna give you. We have an office presentation program called Zoom, and then let's see if I can join you to that. Okay, that's an option. Yeah, can you try typing in on your computer viewcutco.com?
Viewcutco.com?
Yeah, all one word, viewcutco.com. Yeah, I'm not familiar with this presentation, but we'll make it work. And so,
Okay.
did that come up?
It's loading right now.
Okay. What else? So you said you had a party going on today. What was that for?
Oh, it's just for some of my friends to just have a look at together.
Oh, cool. What are you guys gonna do?
Oh, just eat and hang out.
Yeah, you guys cooking or?
Okay,
You...
Sorry.
Oh, I said, are you guys cooking food or are you going out to eat?
Oh, no, we're just gonna have just a few finger foods here at my house.
Oh, okay. That'll be fun. Did that website work for you?
Yeah, that came up. It's an online demo.
Okay, perfect. And so what slide are you on then?
Just the first one. It says Cutco online demo.
Okay. So if you go ahead and click one more, you should see the goal page again, right?
Yes.
And then click again, you should see the page that says what is Cutco. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so Diane, this is all going to be a lot of review for you since you already have Cutco, but especially when someone's had it for so long, they tend to forget some of the different aspects about it, just like you forgot that you could send it back to sharpen and fix them. And so as far as that goes, I'm just going to run you through a little bit about why Cutco is the top-selling American-made brand in the United States, and then we'll take a look at our product line and then review prices and specials at the end, okay?
Okay.
So Cutco's been in business since 1949. And all of their knives have been made in their factory in the United States in Olean, New York, which was actually not far from where I served my mission, which is pretty cool. And so we sell over $200 million worth of Cutco annually, so like 10 whole sets of knives. I'm just kidding, a lot more than that. And we have over 16 million customers. And so we've been featured on the History Channel a bunch of times, but this is the biggest thing right here, okay, Dan? We're one of the only products that you can buy once, use every single day, and never have to replace it. So besides your Cutco knives and maybe your husband, how many things can you use every single day and never have to replace?
I don't know.
Can you name anything?
Can I think of anything?
Yeah.
I'm looking around. I can't think of anything.
Yeah, and most people can't because you spend a lot of money on a lot of things and everything kind of just breaks eventually. And so it's nice to know with your Cutco that it's something that's guaranteed forever, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's one of the best investments for your home or your kitchen that pretty much anyone can make. And so we'll talk more about that later. But like I said, you can use it every single day and never have to replace it. And to start off, I just want to show you two products that demonstrate the quality of Cutco. The first in the next slide here are those super shears that you're super familiar with. You can go ahead, there's a video there. They're made out of a high carbon stainless steel. It makes them good for in the kitchen stuff, as well as indoor and outdoor projects. I don't know if you've ever cut like roses or anything out in the garden with your super shears before, but I've heard of customers who have. My boss's dad, he actually keeps a pair of these things in his shop and uses them like tin snips because they're so dang durable. And so, what do you typically use your shears for?
The phone is kind of crackly. I can't see very good.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm having a hard time. You said you do have an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to call you on FaceTime audio. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Hi.
Can you hear me better now, Diane?
Lots better.
Lots better. Yeah, I figured that would work.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you.
you're welcome. So if you go ahead and click to the next slide after the shears, you should see a video for our veggie peeler, and you've got to see this peeler in action. Do you have a Cutco peeler?
No, I don't.
Oh my goodness, this thing is going to change your life, Diane. The Cutco peeler peels in both directions. It's again guaranteed forever,
Oh.
just like everything else. So if you're left or right-handed, it doesn't matter. You can use it both ways. You can use this for papayas. I don't know, I've never peeled a papaya, but I typically stick to potatoes and apples and stuff. But again, my mom, when I showed her this presentation, she loved the knives, but she probably tried to steal my peeler like 5 or 6 times. She kept like
wow.
putting it in her pocket and trying to slide it off the tape. I'm like, Mom, I need that. And so,
That's funny.
and then if you go ahead and click to the next slide here, so you should see a picture of a drawer full of knives. Do you see that?
Yep.
So I'm going to tell you how we got the idea for Cutco, okay? So most people have the world's most expensive set of knives, and we call that drawer right there the world's most expensive set. And I know that may sound kind of funny, but why do you think that is?
Oh, I would think just knives are expensive, and you just throw them in a drawer, and they get ruined, and then you end up buying more. And
Oh yeah, people do end up buying a ton of more knives. And so that's the reason is oftentimes knives just break all the time. And so the average knife is actually only designed to last about 2 years. And so most households waste a ton of money just replacing those knives over and over and over again. And you probably know this better than I do. I'm only 24, but cheap knives have a lot of problems, don't they?
yeah, they do.
Yeah, and so I'm just going to run you through some of those different disadvantages really quickly. The first is the handles. There's wood or plastic. Wood handles are attractive when they're new, but they're incredibly unsanitary. So they're like a big sponge. It absorbs liquids, bacteria, grease. They retain odors. You actually can't use them in a restaurant setting. It's even illegal in Colorado to use wood-handled knives in a restaurant setting because of the sanitation concerns. So it's kind of gross when you think about it. You
Yeah,
touch your
that's
raw
ridiculous.
chicken. Yeah, it just spreads
yeah.
it. Yeah, and then it gets in your knife. And so that's why people use plastic handles. But plastic handles are usually pretty cheaply constructed. So they melt, they chip, they crack, they break. They're slippery when they're wet, which is pretty dangerous when you're, dealing with a sharp object. And
Yeah.
and then as far as the rivets go, they're often made out of brass, which expands and contracts, which loosens your knives, creates unsanitary gaps. And most knives have what's called a partial tang. So that's where the blade only goes about partway through the handle. And using this less steel makes them weak and unbalanced, so they do break a lot easier. And so as far as the steel goes, you can see a couple different options there. There's high carbon steel and stainless steel. High carbon's that one that's like darker color. It's the one your mom probably yelled at you for leaving in the dishwater because it'll rust.
Oh, right.
And so carbon steel is really strong, but it rusts pretty easily. And that's why people use stainless steel a lot of the time. But the problem with stainless steel, though, is it's a softer metal. And so it won't stay sharp near as long, and it's also difficult to sharpen. And I know your Cutco knives did go dull eventually after 20 years, but would you say they stayed sharp a lot longer than the other knives you have in your drawer?
Yeah, I would definitely say that.
Yeah, and so, I mean, Cutco, like I'll talk about that later, it does stay sharp longer because stainless steel, it just, like I said, it's a softer metal, so it just goes dull way quickly. And isn't it the best? I mean, isn't it kind of frustrating having to sharpen your knives a lot?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. And so as far as the edges go, there's 2 different types. There's serrated and straight edges. Serrated edges make a smooth cut, but you have to resharpen them all the time for them to remain effective. And then serrated edges will rip and tear your food apart, but you can't resharpen them. And just so you know, Diane, it is the hard cutting surface that dulls your knife, not the food. And since both of these edges directly contact the cutting board, it does dull them a lot quicker. What kind of cutting boards do you use, by the way?
Plastic.
Plastic. Okay, that's good. Because, like I said, glass, granite, and marble ones, they're way too hard and they're going to dull your knives a lot quicker, okay?
Okay.
So you don't want to do those. And if you were to buy a cheap knife, say for like 10 bucks, say like 8 knives in a set, that's 80 bucks for the set. Replace them every 2 years like you're supposed to. Over 40 years, that's 20 replacements, spending over $1,600 to have an unsanitary, unsafe, and unenjoyable experience. And so it kind of adds up over time, And so
Right.
let me show you how Cutco has solved all of these problems. So if you click to the next slide, there should be a features and benefits page. Do you see that? It should say quality at the top.
Yes, I have it. Uh-huh.
Okay, so there's 5 features and benefits that make Cutco the world's finest set of cutlery, okay? When you first held your Cutco knives, like what was the first thing you noticed?
They just feel good in your hand.
They're super comfortable, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that's because of our universal wedge lock handle. So we had this universal design, it locks your hand into place, which increases your control and safety, and also reduces fatigue. And so using this design is more expensive. We actually had to study over 700 pairs of hands before we came up with this design. So a lot of research went into this, but it's worth it because it's comfortable and safe, as you kind of mentioned. And then the next thing is what the handles are made out of, okay? It's what's called thermoresin. Now, thermoresin, it's pretty similar to what bowling balls and football helmets are made out of, okay? So it's pretty hard stuff. I don't know the last time you dropped a bowling ball, but it probably didn't crack on you, did it?
Yeah, no.
And so, as far as that goes, it is an expensive material to use, but it is worth it because it's dishwasher safe and sanitary. So, do you hand wash your knives or do you throw them in the dishwasher?
I hand wash them.
Okay, so you can hand wash them. I know a lot of people like to, but it's not going to hurt them if you throw them in the dishwasher, okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so the third feature is our full tank construction. We do use extra steel. The blade goes all the way through the handle, and this is more expensive. It does make it cost a lot more to make the knives, but it's worth it because it creates strength as well as balance in your knife. And then our nickel silver rivets are flush with the handle, which makes it so there's no gaps and it's super strong and sanitary. And then the fourth feature is our high grade steel. So do you remember when I talked about high carbon and stainless steel?
Uh-huh.
So our steel is expensive to use, but it's worth it because it's kind of the best of both worlds, okay? So it has high carbon content, so it's going to hold an edge for a lot longer, but it's also stainless, so it's pretty and sanitary and sharp. And so, which most people like in a knife, am I right?
Yes.
So the fifth feature is our most famous. It's our exclusive Stay Sharp Double D edge, and it's the edge that's on your carving knife and your bread knife that you said you had, okay?
Okay.
So if you go ahead and click to the next slide, there is a video that kind of demonstrates how the different types of edges work, okay?
Okay.
Did that play for you?
There, it's going right now.
Okay, so the first knife here is just a standard like serrated edge knife, okay? You can see it kind of rips and shreds. We use rope, by the way, because it's tough and fibrous like food, but it's not going to hurt like the knife's edge or anything like that. And so you can see the straight edge here next. It does make a smoother cut, but he has to push a lot harder for it to get through when going back and forth.
Okay.
So eventually he'll get through. I mean, rope's pretty tough, so.
Yeah.
And the last knife he uses there, again, it makes a smoother cut. And then this is our petite carver. Would you say that's the carving knife you have?
Yes, that's what I have.
Okay, you can see it just goes right through the rope. It just one pass.
Fast.
Yeah, and it makes a smooth cut. And so if you go ahead and click to the next slide, I have a diagram that kind of explains it in a little bit more detail. So you can see, unlike a serrated edge, which is rounded, Cutco's double D edge has 3 straight edges that cut smoothly forwards, backwards, and straight down. So those points protect the inside edge from ever touching and dulling on the cutting board, and that's what keeps your knife sharp for up to a decade or sometimes more depending on use. And so this edge is really expensive to use. It does cost a lot to put it on there. In fact, we used to have a patent on it. We don't anymore because nobody else is going to make it with this edge because it's so dang expensive to put it on. And so, but it's worth it because, again, it keeps your knife sharp for literally a decade or more, you know? And so this is really what sets us apart a lot of the time. But those are the features. Really, the best part about Cutco, though, is the guarantee. If you click to slide 10 there, the next slide, you should see forever guarantee. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, Diane, this is the best part about Cutco. I mean, the knives are great. They hold together, they're sharp, and they stay cutting for a long, long time. But this is what sets us apart. Again, one of the only products that you can use every single day and never have to replace it. By the way, the product is your proof of purchase, so you can literally put your Cutco knives in your will and pass them on to your kids when you're gone. So, like, literally, I've talked to dozens of people who have inherited their Cutco. And so, we have 4 features, 4 parts to our forever guarantee. The first is forever performance. If anything ever goes wrong with your Cutco, just send it back to the factory like I was teaching you how to do, and they'll sharpen it or fix or replace it for free, okay? So you never have to pay to replace your knives ever again. And you can do that as many times as you want. So you can always send them in if anything's ever wrong. The next is forever sharpness, kind of the same thing. If anything ever goes dull, just send it in and they'll sharpen it for free, okay? Just pay for the shipping. So the third is unconventional use. So you've got kids. It sounds like you have boys, right?
I have 2 boys and a girl.
2 boys and a girl. So boys can be pretty destructive, right?
Yes,
So
they can.
I don't know if there are 3 brothers in my family, so lots of holes in the walls. But
Right?
if anything ever happens to your Cutco, your kids ever use them as a hammer, a screwdriver, a crowbar, I don't care what happens to them, you can literally send them back in and they will replace them for at least half price. So
Okay.
you're guaranteed to be covered. Honestly, though, Diane, more often than not, they just replace it for free. Like I have a customer, her name's Catherine Goff. She lives here in St. George. She found her first Cutco knife in a campfire pit in the desert. This thing
Oh
was
my word.
burnt and melted, and her neighbor told her it had a guarantee. So she just sent it in, not knowing what to expect. And then they mailed her back a new one, and she's been cutting with it for 25 years since. And
that's
so it's freaking,
Wow.
yeah, I honestly, it blows me away what they cover. They just kind of have to throw that in there so make sure people aren't destroying their knives on purpose, you know?
Right.
And so the 4th thing is the unconditional return policy. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the best way to know if you like something is to try it, right?
Yes.
And so Cutco offers you a 15-day money-back guarantee. So if you do decide to get anything else to your set, what you can do is you can try it out for 2 full weeks. And then if you don't love it, just send it back and they give you a full refund. And that way you and your husband can try it out together and make sure you guys both love it, okay?
Okay.
So you can see Cutco is a great investment because you're never going to have to buy another set of knives again, and you really can't beat American made and forever guaranteed. And if you click to the next slide here, there is a video with people talking about how much they love their Cutco. We can go ahead and skip that one. I don't normally do that, but for the sake of time, we can go ahead and skip that.
Okay.
And you should say slide 12. Do you see that?
Yes.
And it should have a list of all the knives in our basic set laid out, right?
Yes.
Okay, so this is our basic set. Now, Diane, you can buy individual pieces, but most customers agree that a set is a much better value over a lifetime, okay? It's important to have the right tool for the right job because of safety and efficiency. So I'm sure you have a toolbox at home, right?
Right.
Do you have a hammer in your toolbox?
Yes.
And do you use that hammer every day?
No.
Probably not, but are you super glad you have a hammer when you need a hammer?
Yeah.
Right, and so your knives are kind of the same way. They're your toolbox for your kitchen, okay? So it's important to have the right tool, and every knife has its job so that you're safer and the knives are safer and they stay sharp a lot longer. Does that make sense?
It does.
So again, this is our basic set. We do have 2 larger set options for people that really love to cook. I forgot to ask, by the way, do you cook because you have to, because you like to, or because you love to?
Because I have to and I like to. I don't. Sometimes I love to, but not all the time.
Yeah, it just depends on what you got going on in the day, right?
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to cook?
I don't know. I make my dinners from scratch most every night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I bet your kids love that. Same with your husband.
Yeah. I just want them to have healthy meals.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I just basic meals. You know, it's nothing too crazy, I guess.
Okay. That's really awesome, though, that you do that. I'm sure if they don't appreciate it when they were younger, I'm sure they appreciate it now that they're older, and especially your son in college, right?
Yeah.
And so,
They do like that.
oh my goodness. So again, this is our basic set. It's going to cover all your basic needs. It's got the minimum number of tools to do all the jobs in your kitchen as efficiently as possible, and it's typically the best value for the average family. And so as far as this set goes, it starts with your paring knife. If you go ahead and click to your next slide, you should see the paring knife. And, oh, this one doesn't have a video on it, unfortunately. But your paring knife, is this the one that you have, by the way?
Yes, it is.
What do you use it the most for?
Like I said, chopping up fruits and vegetables.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just I love it. It's just simple, easy. Because like I said, I don't always have to get the cutting board out for it. I can cut it up and just throw it in the pot, and, whatever. So.
And I'm glad to hear that you don't pull out the cutting board for it, because your paring knife is actually designed only for the air. So if you were to rub this thing on the cutting board a whole bunch, it's going to dull it a lot quicker. And so I'm glad to hear that you do use it in the air all the time. So as far as that goes, it does have kind of a longer handle, doesn't it?
It does.
And so that makes peeling and paring way more comfortable for your potatoes, apples, or strawberries, or whatever it is you're cutting. But again, you're never going to want to use it on the cutting board, and that's why you've got your trimmer on the next slide. And you can go ahead and play that video. I don't think you said you have the trimmer. What do you use for tomatoes?
I'll use like that big, not the bread knife, but the next one down from it.
Okay, yeah, the carving knife. It's our petite carver.
Yes, I'll use the carving knife.
Yeah, so the trimmer is actually...
Sorry, what?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I have another one that I bought just for tomatoes, but it's, I don't know what brand it is.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of people have a specific tomato knife, and what I love about the trimmer though is it's so great for tomatoes because you're never gonna smash them ever again, but it's also so versatile because you can use it for chicken, lemons, limes, oranges, small citrusy fruits. Do you ever find that longer petite carver is just a little bit like long for like small things like a lime or
Yeah,
or a
it's
tomato?
big.
Yeah, and so that's why the trimmers are #1 piece sold since the 1970s because everybody loves its versatility. But you're never going to want to use it on like spreading or serving anything, and that's why you've got your spatula spreader here on the next slide. And you can go ahead and play that video. Your spatula spreader, do you ever like make any pans of stuff like brownies, Rice Krispie treats, lasagna?
Yep.
And then what about like bagels, frosting those, or peanut butter and jellies?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you're gonna love this spatula spreader. So it has a flexible blade as well as a double D edge on one side, so that allows you to cut, spread, and serve all with the same knife. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you can use this on your pan of brownies to cut it up into squares, and then with the flexibility of the blade, you can just scoop them right out of the pan. So super easy that way. I wouldn't lick this guy clean though, because he does have a very sharp blade on the tip.
Okay, good to know.
But also, do you eat avocados?
Yeah.
Okay, so I used mine for an avocado this morning for breakfast on my toast. I use the sharp side to cut the avocado in half, and then I flip it over to the flat side on the other end. It's actually dull on one side. That allows me to cut it up into slices right there in the peel, and that way I'm not cutting through the backside and slicing my hand open, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
So it's super easy, and then with the flexibility, I can scoop all those slices out and just spread them on my toast or my plate super easy. So, what would you use your spatula spreader for the most?
I like the idea of the bagels, the avocado, PB&Js.
Yeah, it's super versatile. Honestly, this one's probably my favorite knife we sell. It's silly, but it is. And so you're never going to want to use it for larger things, though, and that's why you've got your petite carver here. This is the one you're pretty familiar with. Your petite carver is your everyday meat knife. You're going to use this for small roasts, rotisserie chickens, also things like cantaloupe, pineapple. Have you ever cut a pineapple with it?
Yeah, I have.
It's super nice to go through a pineapple. It's always a chore to cut pineapple, and so this makes it super easy. And then, of course, your turning fork is right there. Your turning fork is kind of your cooking fork, so you're going to use this for like turning meats in a pan. Do you ever cook bacon or pork chops?
I cook bacon.
Yeah, so you're going to use this for turning things in the pan like that, as well as getting things out of jars. I like to call it the pickle harpoon because it's really easy for getting things out of jars. If you go ahead and click to the next slide there, you should see the butcher knife, and you can play these videos as we like get to the slide, by the way, just so you know.
Okay.
So the butcher knife, do you see it there?
Yes.
Do you ever cut like heavy duty things like watermelon?
Uh-huh.
So this is going to be your watermelon knife. So I call the butcher knife the big brother of this set. The reason is you're going to use this thing for heavy duty things like acorn, butternut, spaghetti squash.
Oh, yes.
Anything
yes.
hard
Those
and
are hard
heavy
to cut.
duty. Yeah, super hard stuff. But the reason you're going to use this knife though is because it protects your other knives. When you use this for the hard stuff, your other knives stay sharp a lot longer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's a super important knife, so that way you don't have to send your knives back near as frequently, you know?
Okay.
And so this knife right here, again, super good for like large things. Also disjointing meats like turkey, chicken, or duck. Heck, I even use the backside of it as a meat tenderizer because it's kind of got a thicker blade on it. So I'll like bang some meat on it. And then the next slide here is your chef knife. So although the butcher knife has a straight edge, you're never going to chop anything with it. And do you ever dice any celery, carrots, or onions?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's what you're going to use your chef knife for. Again, you have this one already.
I do.
Honestly, like, I know families that have multiple of these just because one's always in the dishwasher because you're always chopping something, right?
Right.
And so the chef knife, as we say, it's good for the 6 S's: soup, salad, stir fry, stew, stuffing, and salsa. It's kind of a tongue twister. Don't recommend saying that one 5 times fast. But it's really good for dicing, mincing, and chopping, but never for slicing. And so that's why you've got your slicer here. Your
Okay.
slicer is the best bread knife in the world. It's got a long double D edge, which makes it super great for cutting through loaves of French bread, as well as cutting cakes. Have you ever used your slicer for shredding like a head of lettuce for taco night?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know, because a lot of people are blown away. They're like, "What? I could use that for lettuce?" I'm like, "Well, it's long enough. You might as well."
That's so true.
So it's a super great knife for lettuce, and then it's never for anything with a bone though. And that's why you've got your master carving set here on slide 20. So your master carving set, it's kind of like your spare tire, okay? So
Okay.
you're not going to use it every day, but you're going to be super glad you have it when you need it. So do you ever host any barbecues or family get-togethers like Thanksgiving or Christmas?
I do.
Okay, so that's when you're going to pull out your carving set, okay? So both forks in the set are very important. The carving fork is for holding foods down, while the turning fork I mentioned is for picking foods up. So can you see how over a lifetime, Diane, you're going to use every tool in your basic set?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. And then to complete your set, we have table knives. You can go ahead and click to the next slide. You can play that video. Do you have any Cutco table knives?
No, I don't.
Okay, so we have two kind of options here. These are our basic table knives. The one in the video is just a standard steak knife. And we cut through leather in the video because it's kind of like a steak when I'm done cooking it. Way too hard when I've forgotten about it. But you can see the table knife just glides right through. We also have steak knife options. They're a little bit bigger. They have the same edge, but for people that like the feel of a larger steak knife. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of a preference thing. Most people agree that both things get the job done, but I really personally like the steak knife just because they're a little bit bigger, but the table knives are fantastic. But again, you're going to use these every single day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we do recommend at least 2 per family member, so that way you don't have to wash them after every single meal. As far as that goes, though, that completes your basic set. If you click to the next slide here, you should see like storage options, like blocks and whatnot. Do you see that?
I do.
Where do you keep your Cutco?
Well, I do have one of these blocks,
Okay.
and then I keep a couple of them in my drawer.
Oh no, Diane, are they just like rolling around in there? Or are they pretty secure?
Yeah, they are.
Oh, no.
Because they're dull. They're dull, and I'm like, well, they're not going to get in the drawer, so
Well, they might be dull because you put them in the drawer, Diane. I'm just
they
kidding.
could be. I don't doubt that.
No, so it's important to make sure your knives are stored properly, especially when you're paying for such a high quality product. We do have a couple different options. We got wood blocks. They're solid oak. They are treated with an antimicrobial, so that way they're super sanitary. And then we have the trays as well for people that like to keep them in the drawer. Do you prefer wood blocks or trays?
Probably the tray.
The trays. Do you have a lot of counter space? I know when I was talking to Shelly, she says you have one of the nicest kitchens that she's ever seen. So.
Oh, she said that? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice of her. I think I would like a tray.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's super nice to keep them divided like that, so that way you can make sure they're not rolling around and they stay sharp as possible. Does that make sense?
It does.
And then, of course, our cutting boards are softer plastic. They really think of everything. They've got a beveled edge around them, so that way juices aren't going to run off. And they're even hollowed out on the underside, so you can slide a plate underneath them and transfer food directly from your cutting board to your plate. And then in the center there, we have our kitchen tools. These just kind of complement your set of Cutco. It's like a 5-piece kitchen tool set. Pretty standard. It replaces a drawer full of old kitchen tools like spatulas and spoons. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then, of course, we have our entertainer pack. It's those 4 pieces with black handles surrounding it. Honestly, this is one of my favorite little sets. It comes with a pizza cutter, an ice cream scoop, a peeler, and a cheese knife. What's the hardest part of a pizza cutter to clean, Diane?
That spot where it attaches.
Right there between the blade and the handle, right?
Arm or whatever, yeah.
And so our pizza cutter, that little plastic piece actually slides up and the disc pops out for easy cleaning, so you can throw it in the dishwasher in 2 pieces. Again,
nice.
I talked about our peeler. Our ice cream scoop is, have you ever had to soak your ice cream scoop in a tub of hot water just to get through your
Yes.
tub of ice cream? And so our ice cream scoop is made with a metal alloy. It's made with zinc in the middle, and then it's stainless steel plated, so it is dishwasher safe, but zinc reacts negatively with cold temperatures. So this actually melts your ice cream right as you're scooping, so you never have to soak it again. And so
Wow.
it's super nice. With a pointed tip, it makes it easy to start, as well as if you notice in the picture, it's kind of hard to tell, but that scoop isn't even touching the table. There's kind of a space underneath it, so that way when you set your scoop down for a second, you're not going to get sticky ice cream over your
Oh,
nice
that's
kitchen
cool.
that Shelly was telling me about. And so, and then you have our cheese knife right there. Our cheese knife, I call it the Sunday knife because it's holy. And so the cheese knife, I think it's misappropriately named. I call it the delicate knife because it's used for so much more than just cheese. So those big holes makes it so it has less surface area. So things like cheese, apples, potatoes, anything sticky and starchy is not going to stick to it. You can slide right through. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's also our sharpest knife. So do you remember when I talked about the double D edge?
Yes.
So our cheese knife has what's called the micro double the edge. So for every point that our normal knives have, our cheese knife has 2. So it's twice as sharp. And Diane, nobody really likes to make a scene when they cut the cheese, and so it makes it a breeze. I'm sorry, my jokes
Oh,
are
goodness.
pretty cheesy.
Uh-huh.
You can just tell me to stop at any point. It's
That's
the only
great.
way to make it through these things. And so,
Oh, that's great. Good for you.
what's that?
Good for you. You're doing fun. I love it.
I try to. And if you go ahead and click to the next slide, well, there's a video on it. You can go ahead and play that if you want. You can just see briefly how the cheese knife just glides right through that cheese. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, it like melts it, doesn't it?
It doesn't melt it, but it goes right through without any resistance at all. So, oh, you're talking
I
about
love that peeler. I love the peeler. I'm getting that for sure.
yeah, it's a pretty awesome one. I had a lady the other day, she ordered one and then she called me back a week later and was like, hey, I need like one more of those because we've got kids that need a peel too. So,
Oh, smart.
yeah, and so, you were talking about the ice cream scoop melting. It was actually scooping the guts out of a papaya in the first part of the video. So I like to use it for like cantaloupe. I'll scrape out all the seeds of the cantaloupe when I'm with my ice cream scoop as well. So
That's so slick. That's
yeah,
nice.
you can go ahead and click to the next slide here. So this is, have you ever priced out high quality cutlery besides Cutco before?
Well, yeah, because my husband bought me a Wusthof set last year.
Oh, no way. Do you like
Yeah.
it or?
I do. I like it.
Okay, so as far as high quality cutlery goes, there's a lot of different like sets that range in price and quality. And before I talk about those really quickly, I just want to summarize, because I've talked about a lot of stuff, Dan. I just want to summarize why so many people choose to invest in Cutco, okay? So you're always going to have sharp American-made knives that are comfortable, safe, and sanitary. It's guaranteed to last forever, so this would be the last set of knives you'd ever have to buy. And most people who buy Cutco like eat out less, so that saves people a lot of money. And so if that saved you $60 a month, that's $720 a year, and over 25 years, that's $18,000. It's kind of ridiculous how much eating out costs. It really
Yes.
adds up. And there's also several reasons why customers choose sets, okay? Cutco sets have the right tool for the right job. They're safer because they come in a block or a tray. They have a built-in discount, so it is cheaper when you buy it as a whole set. And sets are they come with a free cutting board and other free stuff. And we also have interest-free monthly investment options, so you don't have to pay for it all at once. But as far as high-quality cutlery goes, Dan, like I said, there's a wide variety of quality and prices. And since Cutco is top-rated, we only compare to the highest quality brands, okay? So I have a price comparison sheet for our top competitors, Wusthof and Shun. Each of these brands are made overseas, and they're the top-selling brands in stores. Now, Cutco doesn't sell in stores, but each of these sets are like really awesome, honestly. The price for this Wusthof set, though, it's about $3,435 for this set. Sometimes you can find it on sale for only $2,000. And so good things ain't cheap, and cheap things ain't good, am I right?
Right.
And so as far as that goes, that's just how much high-quality cutlery costs. And so Wusthof, it's really awesome. Like there's just a couple differences though between these brands and Cutco. Wusthof has mostly straight edges, so you have to sharpen them all the time, which is kind of a hassle. And they're
Yep.
also, you cannot put them in the dishwasher, so
Right.
they're not recommended for the dishwasher at all. And the warranty is for manufacturing defects only. And so if anything ever happens, you're just out of luck, you know? So in comparison, Cutco has a unique wedge lock handle, which like you said, is super comfortable. Our 4-part forever guarantee, which includes free sharpening, and our exclusive Stay Sharp double the edge. So your knife is literally going to stay sharp for a decade or more, you know? And then again, just send them back to get sharpened for free whenever you need to. So, and then Cutco owners typically, and you can agree with this or let me know if you agree with this, will tell you that it's 10 times better than any knives they've ever used. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I really like them.
Yeah, and so just considering the guarantee and unique features alone, though, most people would say it's at least twice as good as that Wusthof set. And so, Diane, when something offers twice the quality and the value and literally lasts forever, you'd expect it to be at least twice the price, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so at twice the price, you're talking about $4,000 for a basic set of Cutco. If you go ahead and click to the next slide, you can see our homemaker set laid out for you again. And you can go ahead and click one more time, and there should be the color options. What color do you like better, by the way?
I like the black.
The black, yeah, it's a little bit more traditional. I know my set's white, but black, I don't think black's going to go out of style anytime soon, you know?
Yeah,
And
I
so
agree.
it's kind of we call it classic, actually. There are some brown undertones, which makes it blend nicely with your cabinets as well. And as far as that goes, like I said, it's got the 10 basic tools I explained earlier, the wood block, the sharpener for straight edges, and we also have a homemaker set without table knives. Would you think you prefer the set with or without table knives if you were to get it?
Without.
Without table knives. Do you guys not cut food at your table?
Yeah, we do, but I just have a lot of steak knives.
Okay.
I'd rather put them in something else.
You'd what?
I'd rather buy like the peeler or something else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as far as that goes, you said you like the trays better, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so if you want to click one more time, there is a list of all the knives. Do you see that there?
Yes.
So this is our complete set, by the way. But as far as our homemaker set, by the way, do you have a pen and paper?
I do.
Okay, is it right there in front of you?
Uh-huh.
Okay, awesome. So what I'm going to have you do is, could you go ahead and write homemaker set at the top of it?
Okay.
Homemaker, and since we wouldn't be doing the table knife, so it comes with those 10 basic tools that I talked about earlier. And so again, the best part about it, Diane, is it doesn't cost $4,000. In fact, it doesn't even cost as much as that Wusthof set of $3,435. And so the homemaker set in trays, you can go ahead and write this down. It's actually only $959 paid in full. So you can write that $959 paid in full. However, most people, what they do, Diane, is they split it up over 5 months interest free. It just makes it a lot more manageable. And so that's only $206 on the 5-pay. So you can go ahead and write an arrow off. So $959, put an arrow and then write $206 off to the side and circle it. That's like a trip to Costco. And so we do have a buy now bonus though, Diane. If you wanted to go ahead and get that set, what I could actually do is, you like that entertainer pack with the peeler in it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that entertainer pack, if you were to go to Cutco.com and buy it, it's about $228. And so as far as that goes, you remember how I said I'm working towards that scholarship and I'm in that huge contest, right?
Uh-huh.
So because of that, my manager has given me permission to give away some stuff for free. So if you wanted to go ahead and get that homemaker set, what I could actually do is give you that whole entertainer pack for free if you wanted to go ahead and do that. And so I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you, Dan. Do you want to go ahead and get that homemaker set and never have to buy knives ever again?
You know, it's just not in my budget.
Okay. Yeah, no, so you're saying it's a little bit too much money then?
Yes, it is.
No, and I totally get that. Like $959 is a lot to spend all at once. And so that's why most people just split it up. Like I said, that's only $200 on the 5-pay and you still get that entertainer pack for free. How does that sound?
Yeah, I just don't want to spend, where I already have the existing knives and my other new set, I think I just want to get some odds and ends.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. I mean, you do have some Cutco already. You do like the pieces that we talked about though, right?
Yeah, I do.
So what a lot of customers who have Cutco already like to do is they like to just upgrade to the set that they already have. Since, I mean, you already have those pieces. So, I mean, I know some people do use duplicates, but it might be kind of redundant for you at this time, right?
Yes.
So as far as upgrading goes, I'd have to do a little bit of math, but you said you have the paring knife. Are you looking at the page with all the knives displayed? It should be slide 27. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to build a wish list with you, okay, Diane? And so what this is, it's not necessarily things you're going to get today, but as your rep, what I can do is I can keep track of it. And that way, if it ever goes on sale, I can like let you know. And I can also show you what kind of deals we could offer because I'm in that scholarship contest. But basically, I would never want to put anything down here if you wouldn't use it. Does that make sense?
It does.
And so what I'm going to do is I've got a pen and a paper right here. I'm just going to go through each of the knives one by one. And if you could use it, we're going to go ahead and have you write it down and I'll write it down on my end. Does that make sense?
It does.
So we got this paring knife right there. Do you think you could use another extra paring knife?
No.
No. Do you ever find that your paring knife blade is a little bit too short and like a longer one would be more beneficial?
Possibly.
Because we do have a 4-inch paring knife. Do you think like you would ever see yourself using like a longer paring knife?
Well, I don't know because my hands aren't real big. So
okay.
I like the size of that one. It's just perfect.
So the handle's actually the same size. It's just the blade that's longer.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I know I would want the trimmer. I've got me a little list going already.
Oh, really? That's awesome. I'm glad.
Yeah.
You're one step ahead of me.
I think I would like that trimmer. I think I'd use that a lot.
You'd use the trimmer. And then what about the spatula spreader? Would you use your spatula spreader?
I don't think so.
Really? You just told me you use avocados and brownies?
I know, but I have other things I want instead.
And again, Diane, that's totally fine. This is just a wish list. Like, could you ever see yourself using it?
Oh, yeah, I could.
Okay, cool. So we'll go ahead and put that down on the wish list. I'm going to put a star next to the trimmer, though, just so I can keep track of your most favorites, okay?
Okay.
And then what about the fork? Like, do you ever see yourself turning meats in pans or getting things out of jars?
I have one similar to that, so I don't think so.
You wouldn't use a Cutco one?
No.
Okay. Yeah, and then the butcher knife. Do you ever cut, like, watermelons or heavy-duty things?
Yeah, put that one on. I would put that one on my wish list.
The butcher knife, okay. And then you have the chef knife. Do you ever find that it's a little bit too small for the chopping that you do?
Sorry, which one is that?
The chef knife, sorry.
Oh, I like that. I think that comes in handy for a lot of things.
Could you ever see yourself using a second or like a longer
Oh, sorry.
one?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, and then you have the slicer, right?
Yes.
So we do make a slicer that's smaller in size. Do you ever, like, it's really good for the dinner table, for your loaves of bread or your dinner rolls. That way you don't have that long slicer sitting on your dinner table. Could you see yourself using a smaller one?
Probably not.
Okay, and then what about your carving set for, like, Thanksgiving and Christmas?
No.
You would never see yourself using that?
Maybe just a couple times a year.
Okay, do you want to put it on your wish list and then that way you can keep track of it?
Probably not.
Okay, so this next knife here, right here, Diane, it's called the Hardy Slicer. Now, I didn't talk about it earlier because it doesn't come in the homemaker set, but this is one of our customer requested favorites. So, do you remember how the trimmers for like small stuff and then your chef knives for chopping?
Yes.
So what a lot of people were trying to do is they were trying to get through heavy duty things with like their trimmer or their petite carver because they like the blade on it, the edge that it has, but it's just kind of like bendable for like an acorn, butternut, or spaghetti squash. And then, so they would end up like breaking or bending their blades. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then people really like the weight of the French chef. And so it's nice because, or the chef knife, because it's got that high knuckle clearance. It makes it super easy to just push through foods. So what they did is they made the Hardy Slicer, which kind of has the best of both worlds. So it has the double D edge on it, so that way it's just as sharp as your carving knife, but it has the weight and the knuckle clearance to really give you the leverage to just plow right through anything like an acorn, butternut, spaghetti squash, as well as like racks of ribs or anything hard and heavy duty. It's really like the bad boy of the kitchen. So if it's one of those big brother knives, does that make sense?
It does.
Could you see yourself ever using the Hardy Slicer?
Yeah, I could.
Okay, let me put that down. Hardy Slicer. And then we have a smaller chef knife. I know you really like your chef knife, but this 5-inch Petite Santoku, it's really great for garlic and green onions, cilantro, anything smaller for when your chef knife's just a little bit too cumbersome to chop up. Could you see yourself using one of those?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so the 5-inch Santoku. And then we do have the cheese knife there. What'd you think of the cheese knife?
I like that. I would put that on my wish list.
Okay, yeah, put the cheese knife down. And then, so the homemaker said it comes with like 8 table knives typically, but you can actually buy them in smaller sets, like 4, 6, or 8. Could you see yourself ever using any extra table knives or steak knives?
Probably the table knives.
The table knives, like a 4, 6, or 8?
Probably 6.
Probably 6 of them. Okay. So 6 table knives. And then what about your shears? Do you think one gonna cut it, or do you ever misplace them and need like 4 extra pairs?
I think I'll stick with 1.
Okay, no worries. And then the same thing, could you ever see yourself giving any of those pieces we talked about as gifts?
Yeah.
Yeah, which ones?
I would probably give away the paring knife. I think that's a good.
The paring knife. How many do you think you'd probably, I know Christmas is coming up pretty soon. Could you see yourself ever giving them for Christmas?
Well, I was thinking I'd get one for all of my kids when they get married, but
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that I'd give them for Christmas.
Ah, okay. And with that goes, we do have a family program, by the way. A lot of customers, what they like to do, since Cutco prices go up every year, and it's always cheaper when you buy it as like a set. What a lot of customers really like to do is they like to buy like one of our starter sets, and then they just put it in the closet for whenever the kids get married. And that way they get the best value now because they're going to buy it later anyways. Does that make sense? I can show you those a little bit later, but if you click one more time on slide 28, there's even more knives. And just really quickly, are there any of those knives that you see there that you could see yourself using?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, yeah. And if you go ahead and click one more time, there's the galley set. Do you see that?
Yes.
So there's a couple different options here. These are those starter sets that I was talking about. The galley set, you can click to the next slide, the essentials, studio, as well as the kitchenette, space saver, and all knife set. You can click back and forth. If you were to like ideally give one of these like sets to your kids as wedding presents, which one do you think would probably be what one you would be looking for size wise?
I think that galley is super nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the galley. I've got one of those in my kitchen right now as a college student, and so it's been super nice to have
That's posh, yeah.
because you've got your bread knife, your chef knife, a couple different meat knives like your trimmer and carver, as well as the fork in the middle. Can't go wrong with a spatula splitter, and then it still has 6 table knives, so it's really a great starter set. You said you had 3 kids, right?
Right.
Would you want to put on your wish list 3 galley sets, or would you think smaller sets?
Trying to see. I'm looking at the essential and the studio.
Okay.
Probably this essential.
The essential one.
A little bit more in that one.
Yeah. So, and would you need 3, 5, 7?
3.
3.
3.
Okay.
3.
3 essentials. And then the +5, right?
Sorry, what's that?
Sorry, so you
Yes.
did 3 essentials +5s. Okay. Cool. And then if you click through to slide number, we do have cookware. Are you in the market for good cookware?
I'm not.
Okay, we can skip that then. Just keep clicking through to slide number. Like I said, sorry, I'm not as familiar with this presentation as I am the other one. Slide 38. Do you see slide 38?
Yes.
So we do have awesome flatware. Have you ever priced out high quality flatware before?
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah, isn't it? So our flatware, what I really love is pretty competitive in price compared to other flatware. I mean, if you were to go and buy high quality flatware, you're looking like $200 to $250 per place, 5-piece place setting. And so 12 place settings, you're looking at like, I don't know, around $3,000 just for a set of flatware, plus the chest that it comes in, an extra $100, and then like say $300 for the serving pieces. So you're looking like $3,400 for a set of flatware. What I love about our Cutco flatware is our whole set of flatware is actually only, let's see, 1459. It's actually only $17.38 for our flatware chest. Which I love is because it's discounted about 30%. Because if you were to go to Cutco.com and buy out each of those things individually, just the 12 place settings would be over $1,900. And so, could you see yourself ever using Cutco flatware?
Yeah, just a lot of money. I mean, I would love it, but I just don't think it's my budget, you know?
Yeah, no worries. But like, as far as your wish list is concerned, like you could see yourself eventually getting it.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, let's just put it down then. Flatware, chest. And then if you click one more time, you should see our gadgets. Now we talked about the cheese knife. I already put that there. You really like that peeler though, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
How many do you think you'd want in your wish list?
2.
2? Okay. And then would you ever use, I know wine openers are pretty popular in Utah. I'm just kidding.
No.
So what about the pizza cutter, can opener, ice cream scoop? Could you see yourself using those?
Possibly the ice cream scoop.
The ice cream. None of the other ones?
Oh, and the cheese knife.
Yeah, I already got that one. Would you use the second?
Probably just those 3.
Oh, okay. And then we do have sporting knives here on the last couple slides. Do you guys hunt or fish at all, or know anybody that does?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. And we can skip those. And then do you garden at all?
Yeah, I do.
If you click to slide 41, we have really awesome Forever Guaranteed garden tools. What I love about the garden tools is unlike normal garden tools that are like green and brown that kind of get lost in the garden, ours are blue and yellow, so they stand out really nicely. High carbon stainless steel, so they're gonna not bend. And then our pruners, I don't know how many pairs of pruners you've had to buy in your lifetime, but they're always getting gunked up and nasty. And so with the pruners, what you can do is just send them back in the off season, and that way they'll always be nice and sharp for whenever you need them. Do you think you'd use the garden tools?
Yeah, I would use the pruner.
The pruners? Okay. What about the other garden tools?
Probably not.
Okay, cool. So that concludes all of our, one more slide actually. What about cutting boards? Do you need any more cutting boards?
Yeah, I like your cutting board.
Yeah, would you use like a small, medium, large one? Or we have our cutlery care pack, which most customers really enjoy. It comes with all 3 sizes as well as a sharpener.
That That's a good idea.
You like the cutlery care pack?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
So with the sharpener, does that just extend the life of them, or not the life of them, but just extends them a little bit longer from having to send them back?
Yeah, so the double D edge is really what sets us apart. That's the one that you don't have to send back for a decade or more. With the straight edge knives, all straight edge knives go dull eventually. And so it does have our high carbon stainless steel, so it's going to stay sharp a lot longer, like we mentioned, than your typical knives. However, straight edges do need to be touched up every month or couple of months, depending on use. But that's why it's nice to have the sharpener for your straight edges. You just run it through a hand like 2 or 3 times, and it's back to cutting like new. So it's pretty awesome.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, you want to add that to your list?
Sure.
Cutlery care pack. Cool. And so that concludes your wish list. And just to give you some prices on those things really quickly, just to kind of for fun show you what it would be if you were to get all those things today, okay? You can go ahead and write these prices down with me as we go, okay?
Okay.
So your trimmer is $76. The spatula spreader is $75. The butcher knife is $131. And if I'm going too fast for you, let me know, okay?
Oh, you're good.
Okay, the Hardy slicer is $149. The 5-inch Sentoku is $129. The cheese knife is $93. The 6-pack of table knives is $252. And then as far as your Essentials Plus 5 sets, those ones are $747 a piece. So times 3, that's $2241. Again, your flatware chest is $1736, I believe. Let me just double check that really quickly. Oh, $1738, sorry. Your 2 peelers would be $88 for both of them. Those ones are $44 a piece. And then your ice cream scoop is $51, and your pruners are $147. And then your cutlery care pack, let me find that here really quickly. Oh, there it is $129. So
Now, was that cutlery care pack? That's the 3 cutting boards and the sharpener?
correct, yep.
How much was that again?
That was $129 for that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and so let me just total all that up for you really quickly, just to show you what that would be. Is it just you at home right now, or do you got family over?
It's just me home.
Must be nice to have the house to yourself a little bit, right?
Yeah, it is.
Is your kid that's going to school right now, is he still living at home, or is he renting like an apartment?
He's still living at home.
Okay, that's probably nice for him. I'm sure he appreciates that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Diane, the retail price for all of that, you can go ahead and write this down, is $52.99. So that includes, again, everything that we mentioned on your wish list, including your gift sets for your kids when they get married. So like I said, I'm in that huge competition right now, and we don't normally give away discounts like this, but my manager really wants me to win that competition, and so he's given me some permission to give away some pretty awesome deals today. So as far as that goes, if you wanted to go ahead and get that set, what I could end up doing, let me just do some math to make sure I don't have to eat my words, you know, because I always hate putting stuff out there and having to take it back. What I could end up doing is I could actually give you 2 of those essential sets for free, and so that would take off about almost $1,500 off your total. So instead of paying $52.99, that would bring your total down to only $38.05. So you can go ahead and write retail $52.99 and then discount $1,494 off, and then you can go ahead and write Diane's sweet deal $38.05. And then again, most people just split that up over 5 months. It just makes it way more manageable. On the 5 pay, that's only $813 out the door, including sales tax. So again, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you, Diane. Do you want to go ahead and get your wish list and save $1,494?
No, I can't do that today.
No worries. So as far as that goes, I know we kind of prioritized a couple of things. You said the spatula spreader probably wasn't as important to you, right?
Right.
So I'm going to put that on the back burner. What about what other like top 3 things would you say weren't as important on that list?
Well, how about I tell you my top 3? Is that okay?
You could definitely do
My paper's all
that.
messed up here.
Is it? Why is that?
Because I've just been writing notes all around.
Oh, okay.
But my number 1 would be the peelers.
Yeah.
Then probably the cutting board set.
Okay. You might be kind of hard pressed to restrict it down to only 3, Diane. I mean, you got some pretty awesome stuff on here.
I know. Hey, I forgot to ask you, can I buy a tray just for my drawer?
Yeah, we could definitely do trays too. And that's kind of why I like to know what's like most important to you, so that we can make sure you get the best deal possible. I know with knives, like if we get you at least 5 knives, we can make sure we can get that tray for free automatically. That's just a special we run. So as far as like the knives go, what were your like 5 favorite knives?
Well, I like my paring knife,
Oh, sorry, I meant on the list, the list that we have.
the trimmer,
Uh-huh.
the cheese.
You really like that one, huh?
Yes. I like the butcher, but I just don't think I'll use it a ton.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those that like you really love when you have it, and honestly, it's going to keep your knife sharper longer, but it's not going to be used every single day.
Yeah.
Would you probably use the butcher or the hardy slicer more?
Remind me what the hardy slicer is.
So remember, both of those ones are like the big brothers. They're both kind of going to protect your other knives. A hardy slicer is the one with the double D edge and the high knuckle clearance.
Oh yeah, I like that one.
You like that one more?
I do.
Yeah, so that one, it's important to get at least one heavy duty knife, so that way your knives, like I said, stay sharp longer. All right, what other ones were your favorites?
That's all I have written down.
Okay, so I've got, like right here, I've got your trimmer, your hardy slicer, your cheese knife, as well as your peelers, your cutlery care pack, the tray. Did you not like the ice cream scoop or the pruners?
Yeah, but they're not on they're lower on the list.
They're lower on the list. Okay. And then were there any other ones that you're like kind of on the edge? You're like, I really like that one. If like price out the door, like was price aside, like which ones could you see the most value getting today?
Today I would like to do the peeler and the cutting board set.
Well, I meant like as far as the ones we don't have start is what I'm saying. So I can show you what kind of deal we could get you.
Oh.
Were there any of them that were like, that one's really awesome, I want to put it on, but I'm not quite sure?
Probably those steak table knives.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just look at that really quickly. So just to show you kind of what that would be, because honestly, taking off those essential sets and the flatware chest, like it's really going to significantly lower the price of your custom set here, your wish list. So as far as that goes, you said 6 of them, right?
Yeah.
6 table knives would be enough for you. So for your trimmer, your hardy slicer, your cheese knife, your peelers, your cutlery care pack, and the 6 table knives, as well as the tray. Let me look at that really quickly. So your tray, it's going to fit, let's see, let me just double check. It's got 5 slots. So there's a spot for your paring knife, your chef knife, your slicer, and your petite chef, and you'll be able to put your trimmer in there as well. So
Okay.
the only thing is you won't have a spot for your hardy slicer or your cheese knife. Does that make sense?
It does.
We do sell sheaths though for those, and those are they're like $8 a piece. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
So those ones are 9. Let's see, 9 and 10. So it'd be like $19 for both of those extra sheaths. So that way they could be protected. But let me just show you what that would be if you were to get that set. So awesome. So the retail price, you can go ahead and write this down. Try to keep it less cluttered. If you need to flip to another page, we can do that too. So that way you can make sure you can know. I don't like it when people are confused, and so I try to make it as clear as possible. So again, just to recap, this is for your trimmer, the hardy slicer, the cheese knife, 6 table knives, 2 peelers, the cutlery care pack, the tray, and then the sheaths for the extra knives so that way they're protected.
Okay.
So the retail price on that is $834. So what we could end up doing, so if you wanted to go ahead and get that, let's see, $834. Again, on the 5-pay, that's only $180 today. And with that, what I could end up doing is I could end up giving you that ice cream scoop and the pruners. And let me just double check this really quickly. The ice cream, the pruners, and probably even that spatula spreader for free if you wanted to go ahead and do that. So again, that's like 170, that's 75 plus 147 plus 51. So that's $273 worth of free stuff if you want to go ahead and do that. And again, it's $834 in full, or only $180 today on the 5-pay. How does that sound?
Not bad.
You want to
So
go ahead and do that?
how does the 180 work? Does it just automatically withdraw to my account, or do I just get?
Yeah, no, it just, whatever card you pay with, it just automatically charges it once every 30 days. So it's super easy. You don't even have to think about it. It just gets pulled out once a month.
So that's 5 times.
It's once today and then 4 more months after that.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, awesome. Let me go ahead and pull up a form here. Let me check here. And what, you wanted all those in black, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. And I'm actually, since I just realized the spatula spreader doesn't have a sheath, the one that I'm throwing in, so I'm going to throw in one of those for free as well, okay?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I want to make sure your knives are protected. So,
That's great.
as far as your knives that you do have, I do expect you to text me when you got those in the mail, okay? Because a lot of times I get off the phone with people and they never send them in, and I'm like, guys, come on, we talked about this, and so.
Oh, yes, I am. I'm going to send them in because right now I'm not really using them, and they're just so nice when they're fresh.
Yeah, be careful with them too, because they're gonna be really, really sharp. Honestly, a lot of the time they just throw new ones in the box for free for you if they're too damaged. But most of the time they'll just sharpen it up with their factory sharpeners. So let me just double check this really quick. So item numbers, I swear, Diane, they're my favorite part about my job. Remember, looking up all the numbers. I'm just kidding. That was sarcasm. Let's see, Hardy Slicer, 37, 38, and Classic. And then we'll get the sheath for that one, 37, 38. And then the cheese knife, 1764. You don't want any of these in a random other colors. They'll make sure that you can stand them out. Just kidding.
I'm good.
I know some people, they're like, I want my shears in red, so that way I never lose them.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But let's see, cheese knife, and then we got your peelers on here. We wanted 2 of those. What finger foods are you gonna have at your party?
Like a cheese board and some fall things with pumpkin in them, like pumpkin chocolate chip bread and a few things like that. That's what I'm bringing. My friends are bringing other things, but yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Dang, I wish I lived in Logan. No, just kidding. I wouldn't come. Just invite myself to your party. Yeah, you say that, but you're like, he's like 7 hours away? I don't even know how long it takes to get there.
It's 6 hours, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'll invite him politely, but he's never gonna come. So, let's see, 1869. What does your husband do for work, by the way?
He has his own business.
Oh, what does he do?
They have a construction and warehousing business.
No way.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Does he like it?
He does. It's been in their family. He's the 3rd generation.
Oh, no way. That's really cool. I'm looking in, like I said, I'm studying business right now, and I find it fascinating. I really like the idea of, being my own boss for one, but being able to provide value in people's life. That's kind of why I love Cutco too, is because it's an easy product to like help people improve their quality of life, But
right.
but at the same time, like the workings of business, I find really fascinating, and so I'd be interested, like, to hear how his family got started and stuff. I wish he was on the call with us, but
Oh yeah.
oh well, it is what it is. What do you do besides? Oh yeah, you're a secretary. Never mind, I asked that before.
Uh-huh.
How long have you been doing that for?
3 years.
3 years. Do you ever plan on doing something different or?
Well, I have a degree in community health, but I just
Okay.
kind of like the freedom of being able to drop what I want and be with my kids.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
a stay-at-home mom all their growing up here, so
Okay.
I don't want to get too busy, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I do.
No, I completely get that. My mom, she's a nurse, and so she works all the time and always has. And so it's nice, I bet, to have like be at home, see your like help your kids whenever they need something, and
Yeah, it's been really a good thing.
I could see that. Sorry, I'm just like finalizing some of these things. There's a lot of numbers I gotta type in, so let's just double check this really quickly. So just to confirm, we have your trimmer, and just make sure I don't miss anything, okay? So we've got
Okay.
your trimmer, your hardy slicer, your cheese knife, your 6 table knives, as well as your 2 peelers, your cutlery pair pack, your tray, as well as the sheaths for your cheese knife and hardy slicer. And then we're gonna give you the ice cream scoop and the pruners, as well as a spatula spreader, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. I forgot this spatula spreader right there at the end, so let's add that. And that in classic, and we'll get that sheath on there too, really quickly. Perfect. Discount that, and then ice cream scoop, tray, cutlery care pack. Awesome. So actually, with that, I did misquote you the price. It's actually going to be $14 cheaper than what I had said. I did my math a little bit wrong. So
Okay.
I'm sure you're going to be super upset with me over that.
Oh, yeah.
So sorry. But yeah, just to confirm, so we got your trimmer, your hardy slicer, your sheath for that, your cheese knife and your sheath, your 2 peelers, your 6-pack of table knives, your cutlery care pack, your tray, your ice cream scoop, your pruners, and your spatula spreader. Am I forgetting anything?
No, that's it.
Okay, and then you're gonna put your paring knife, your chef knife, your slicer, and your petite. Sorry,
Scissors?
what's that?
Oh, my scissors.
Yeah, but those won't fit in the tray. is what
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying.
I
So.
thought you were telling me I had to hurry up and put them in the box.
No. There's no rush on that, but the sooner you do it, the more likely it is to happen. So,
No, that's so true.
and
I'll put that on my to-do list.
so you'll put the ones that you're sending back in the trays, as well as your new trimmer. And I'm just gonna make sure those work. 2 on the end, 1 in the middle. Okay, yeah. And then we're got the sheets for those other 3 knives. Perfect.
Great.
And so then we're gonna go. I'm just gonna need some basic billing information from you here in just a second. Thank you so much, Diane. I really do appreciate it. I'm working really hard towards this scholarship, and so I know, like I said, I know it may not mean a lot to you, but it really does mean the world to me that you were helping me out towards my scholarship.
School's expensive, and I wish you all the best.
It really is. As far as that goes, I know you got to go pick up your son here, so I'll make this really quick. But there is one last very important part, okay? So as far as that goes, I gotta ask, how did you like my demo?
I think you did great.
Thank you. What was your favorite part?
I just like being able to look at everything as you were telling me about it.
Okay.
You know, in the videos, and you're
Yes.
just fun, and you're funny.
Thank
That's
you.
Great.
My jokes weren't too bad, were they?
No, they were great.
Okay. Sorry about the technical complications too. That was kind of rough at the very
It's not your
beginning.
fault.
So.
That's my old computer. You're fine.
So Diane, there's one last very important part, like I said, and here's where you can really help me out. So I get paid every time I show Cutco, but I can only show it to people I've been personally recommended to. So I have a pen and a paper right here, and we can start with the names and come back to the numbers later. But who are the next, like, if you could open your contacts, by the way, too, and I just need the next 5 to 10,000 people in your contact list.
Oh
Just
no.
kidding. Just kidding. No, honestly, most people recommend at least 10 to 15. But I'm not looking for people you think are willing to buy. I'm just looking for nice people like you willing to hear me out and take a look, because I couldn't do it without nice people like you being willing to hear me out and take a look. So who do you know that loves to cook?
Well, I have to be honest. I really don't like to refer people because I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. I'm just funny about that.
Yeah, no, and I totally get that, Diane. Like, I would be hesitant if anyone was calling him besides me, but it's just gonna be me. I'm like gonna call him, do the exact same thing I did with you. I'm not gonna stab him with a knife or anything like that. And so, and I actually have a system, okay? So I don't ever want to call anybody until they've been given a heads up. So did Shelly not text you, by the way?
No, she didn't.
And
She said
see,
she forgot.
yeah, and see, that's where I have a text that I want people to send out. It gives people a heads up, and that way, if they want to see me, they'll say yes, or if not, they'll just let you know, and I cross them off the list. Does that make sense? Basically, it says, hey, I want to let you know, Nick, my Cutco guy will be giving you a call. He's paying his way through college by showing Cutco. You don't have to buy anything, just listen, and he gets credit. I thought you'd be nice enough to help out. And again, if anybody doesn't want to be contacted, you let me know as soon as possible, and I don't call them for at least a couple days, so I just cross them right off. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
And so again, this is the most important part, because if I don't have people to see, then I don't have a job. And so is there any way you can give me at least a couple of names?
Okay, one new name here. Her name's Nicole.
Nicole. How do you know Nicole?
She just moved into our ward.
Oh, cool. What's her last name?
No.
I don't even get a guess how to spell that one.
Yeah. It's NAS.
And then what's her phone number? Who else do you know that loves to cook?
I don't know if this friend likes to cook, but I can think of one more person.
Okay.
Her name is Linda Sue.
Linda, is that one word?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Is she Linda Sue?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Shelly thought of her as well, which is awesome.
Oh, okay.
Let me just check I have the same number.
Yes.
And so the reason why I wouldn't like cancel that one out for duplicates is because one, Shelly forgot to send out the text, so it'd be nice to have her texted before I called her. You were actually higher up on the list than Linda Sue was.
Oh, okay.
So if you could send that to her as well. Diane, I do have what's called a sponsorship program though that I do want to make you aware of, okay? And here's where you can help me out. Even if all these people say no, it still helps me out, because if I can get at least 5 names from you, you actually become a sponsor. And once I get 50 sponsors, my manager actually buys me a free piece of Cutco. And so, is there any way you can come up with at least 5 names?
I would love to, but I just don't want to put these people on the spot. I'm sorry, I'm funny about that.
And I would never want to put you in a position that would make you uncomfortable, Dan. And that's, again, why I have you send out the text first before I ever even think about calling them. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Do you know anybody that just doesn't hate college kids too much?
No, I don't think any of them hate college kids, but I just feel funny about that.
Yeah. What about family? Would you be more comfortable with like family?
I feel the same way about that. Sorry.
Okay. Well, here's what we could do, Dan. Since I would love to get to that sponsorship, it's 5 for a sponsor, 10 for a double sponsor. Would it be okay if you like called some of the people or talked to them at church, and then if they were okay with it, then gave me their number later then?
Yeah, I could do that. I'd
Okay.
rather talk to people ahead of time.
Yeah, and that's again why I have you send the text, but we'll have you send the text to Nicole and Linda Sue. And then would it be okay if I called you in, let's see, it's almost the weekend, called you on Monday and seeing if you were able to talk to some more people?
Sure, you could do that.
Awesome. And I know you got to go, so I'll let you go. Sorry this took so long again, but I know you're going to love your Cutco, Dan. If I can help you with any other thing with Cutco in the future, please let me know. I may not be doing this full time like I am now, but I'll always have a number, and I always like to make sure my customers get the best deal possible in the future, okay?
Okay, that's great.
Do you have any other questions for me while we're on the phone?
No, I can't think of anything.
Okay, and I'm going to be following up with you about sending that Cutco in, because like I said, some people forget, and it's like, why did
That
you...
would be good. I'll leave that reminder